In this episode of Retiring Today, we're counting down the top 10 retirement wake-up calls. Those uh-oh moments when you realize that retirement isn't just one long beach vacation. And we know, Loren, that the people watching will relate to some of these top 10 retirement wake-up calls.
They certainly will, because when you think about your retirement, you're thinking about all these fun things that you want to do, but then the anxiety creeps in for a lot of people, because as you get closer to retirement, you start to realize there's a lot of decisions you have to make you've never had to make before. And this is where the surprises start to happen, which is really derails a lot of people's retirement. So we put together this top 10 list of wake-up calls to help you avoid the surprise.
Okay, let's get to it. Let's unveil number 10. So wake-up call number 10, your money doesn't know you're retired. When you stop working, your paycheck stops, but guess what doesn't? The market roller coaster, Sean.
Molly, what do you mean the money doesn't know? Wouldn't that just be the easy way out, is to know that everybody maybe has their own stock market and their money's just going to work perfectly for them? But no, that's
going up.
That's right. No, that's not the case. Your money doesn't know you've hit this new stage of life and now are looking for something different out of all these balances that people have saved. And believe it or not, the markets are going to keep doing their thing. Part of making investment decisions and growing your money is taking on that market volatility. We're going to see markets go up. We're going to see markets go down. And believe it or not, that's the same experience once people stop earning those paychecks. They're in retirement. The markets are still going to be active, and those balances are going to continue to do whatever the markets do.
Okay, so we know the markets go up, the markets go down, whether you're retired or not, but what can you do about it, Loren?
What you need to do is put together an income plan that works well with the investment plan, because the markets are going to go up and down. You can't control that. We can't control that. But you need to have control mechanisms around your portfolio to make sure you can still deliver the income that you need to enjoy the retirement that you've been dreaming of for all these years, regardless of the uncontrollables, regardless of what the market does, in spite of what's happening internationally or domestically. The market does what the market does. You want to do what you want to do.
And I think the takeaway too for someone watching is to take a look at the portfolio before retirement to start thinking about what can I do to get ahead of that next market downturn.
Time is so important. That's why we try to work with people that are a few years prior to retirement, so that we have the time to start thinking about this new stage of life. You need to consider different strategies as we get to that stage of life where now we're going to take money out. Be thinking about the recession-resistant portfolio that we've talked about. Maybe have some of your portfolio that doesn't have the extreme volatility that it might make sense to continue to have for some of the other dollars, because you're looking to spend some of that money. So we need to be thinking about managing that risk at this new stage of life.
And sometimes people will say, well, I'm not planning on retiring until 5 years from now, 10 years from now. Well, that's fine if your plans work out. But what we know is oftentimes plans don't work out. And sometimes people are forced to retire for whatever reason, whether it's health or layoffs or other external factors that people really can't control. If you're ready, whether you're 5 years or 10 years away from a planned retirement, if you're ready to go whenever that day does come, you're going to be in a much better position.
Number 9 on our top 10 retirement wake-up call list, Medicare isn't magic. Medicare, the mythical creature that covers everything, except when it doesn't.
It doesn't cover some of the things that most people are concerned about as you enter retirement. Long-term care is at the top of that list. So you can't think that Medicare is going to cover the $10,000 a month if you need some long-term care assistance. You have to plan for that in a different way than just Medicare. The other common thoughts around Medicare coverage is because people's dental and vision are typically covered throughout their career working, and you're like, I'm going to transition to Medicare, that's going to be included as well. Traditional Medicare A and B doesn't cover dental and vision. You have to either go Medicare Advantage or some supplemental plans to get that coverage. This is why you need to really pay attention to what types of healthcare plans you have in place, whether it's Medicare or you have an in-between coverage from the time frame you retire to a time you're eligible for Medicare. All of that needs to be worked in so there are no surprises when it comes to your healthcare coverage.
Retirement wake-up call number 8, retirement accounts come with a tax bill. That can be surprising.
Hopefully not too surprising, but because unfortunately one of the gifts of retirement is not that the IRS is no longer going to want to tax you. So all of those balances that you have, shouldn't say all of them, majority of the balances that you have saved out there and most people have saved are those pre-tax balances. That's what's been around for as long as people have been working. Roth balances are somewhat newer, so those aren't as many of the dollars that people have saved for retirement. So all of those pre-tax balances, the pensions, the Social Security, those are going to have a tax bill that come along with them during retirement. So you can't just look at the total balances that someone has saved and think that they get to spend every single dollar. We need to be thinking about taxes.
Loren, a lot of times people have $1 million in their 401k and they feel really good about that, and they should. But one thing you really try to help people understand is what the possible tax bill could be on $1 million.
Yeah, I just heard this not that long ago. Somebody said, I'm trying to get to a certain number. Let's call it $1 million. Then I can feel really confident about retiring and being able to live the lifestyle that I wanted to. The problem is, and this is where the wake-up call is really necessary, is that $1 million for most of you is in an account you've never been taxed on. So in reality, you do not have $1 million. You still owe a part of that to the federal government. And that $1 million for many people over the course of their retirement turns into something like $700,000. So now you need to build your plan based around a lower number, call it $700,000 as opposed to $1 million. And that's why we spend so much time talking about the tax effect, the tax burden that your tax bill, your retirement tax bill has on your retirement, and it needs to be mitigated through the tax plan.
Yeah, so the tax bill can be surprising. The tax bill can be that you only get to keep about 70% of that $1 million. But Sean, sometimes there is a solution. There's some tax planning you can do before retirement or at the beginning of retirement that can help.
It's about having that time, just like we talked before, to know what this potential tax bill looks like and then identify what strategies that might be a right fit for your plan. The more time you have to identify, does it make sense to do Roth conversions? Can we increase that 700,000 net number out of $1 million portfolio to something higher? Because the reality is not every $1 million portfolio looks the same, because there's pre-tax balances, there's Roth balances, there's tax loss harvesting. There's lots of different tax strategies that can help you realize more of your total savings, and more savings that you have, less of a tax bill that's more money in people's pocket that they get to spend and increase and cover the lifestyle that they want to have in retirement.
Let's get right to number 7. The grandkids are cute, but pricey. We love grandkids, but like weddings and diapers, they're adorable and expensive.
Yeah, I thought you were going to go through a whole other list of things because there is a long list of how grandkids can cost money. This reminds me of a story. We're working with this couple for a long time. They've been married for over 40 years. He passes away, and we're meeting with her to help her make the transition, all the things you have to do, and she's just feeling all kinds of down. I mean, she just lost her best friend of 40 years. But during these conversations, she says, I want to take a Disney cruise with my grandkids. She has 3 grandkids, so they go on this cruise. She comes back in afterwards, and her whole attitude is completely different, a big smile. She takes out her phone, and she shows me these pictures of the Disney cruise and the costumes that each one of the grandkids was wearing. It has all these marvelous stories, and to me, that experience is priceless. However, to Disney, there is a big price tag to that type of cruise. So you have to plan for that. And a lot of people will do that now. The traditional way to plan for that before is you pass away and you leave a bunch of money. But now people are living longer and they're deciding to gift while they're living. And that is one of the ways that she was able to gift to her grandkids and her kids, because her kids went with them, while she was alive. And she got to really embrace that experience and enjoy that along the way. But
Yes.
that can't happen without the planning.
We're not saying don't spoil the grandkids. We're just saying plan for it so it's not a big surprise in retirement. Let's go to number 6 on our retirement wake-up call list. The no plan is still a plan. Guys, let's face it, doing nothing is still doing something. It just might not lead you where you want to go in retirement, Sean.
This applies on a lot of aspects of life, but it definitely applies to retirement planning where you've never done this before. It can be easy to not think about it, and all of a sudden the years go by and now you're creeping up on that retirement age, and then you just go try to make some decisions. So not planning for it, not making any decisions. The decisions are going to get made one way or another. You're going to need those income sources and cash flow after the paychecks go away. So it's going to happen one way or another. And we hear from a lot of people that, well, I'm just going to go turn things on. And that's a plan of some sort. It's probably not the type of planning we like to do. So not being proactive, not thinking ahead, not utilizing that time that you have in front of you to build that plan and doing nothing, that's still a plan.
And I'd say this one's really hard because it's hard to blame people for not planning, because when we think about retirement planning, it's so complex and there's so much that goes into it. And we've never really been taught, and I say you've never really been taught on what a retirement plan is, because you've always been taught your 401ks, your IRAs, your brokerage, that's your retirement plan. That's what's going to be able to facilitate you have the lifestyle that you want. But then slowly, as you get close to retirement, you realize you have to make decisions on Social Security, which you have up to 81 different options. You have to make decisions on how you're going to turn this pot of money into income, Medicare, healthcare, all these decisions you realize you have to make. But a lot of people feel overwhelmed at that point, and sometimes they feel like it's too late. And that's why we have developed, and we talk so much on the show about what goes into a retirement plan, all the pillars that go into it. And that's really what's necessary to help that no plan is a plan type mentality.
That leads nicely into retirement wake-up call number 5, which is your retirement is longer than you think. Here are some stats. You might only imagine yourself maybe retiring for 10 to 15 years, but the facts are this. A 65-year-old man in the U.S. right now can expect to live another 18 years, reaching an average age of about 83. A 65-year-old woman in the U.S. can expect to live another 20 years, reaching an average age of 85.7. People stay retired a lot of times, Loren, longer than they think.
Yeah, not only do they live a little bit longer, but also they're retiring a little bit earlier. I think the average age of retirement is somewhere around that age 62, 63. So you're talking about potentially a 20 to 25 year retirement time horizon, where there's so many times we talk to people who have that mentality, and for good reason. I mean, you age and you start to see people pass away. Your parents pass away, maybe some siblings, coworkers, people your age passing away, and you're like, I don't know how long I have. I might not be able to make it another 5 years, so let me retire and enjoy the 5 to 10 years that I have, which that might be true for some of you, but what if it's not? What if it's not? You don't want to be here 10 years from now and not have a plan for the next 10 years. And that's why it's so important to plan for, let's have the go-go year retirement experience that you want right now. But let's also plan for the latter years of your retirement, so you're not regretting the lack of that plan once you do obtain that 10 to 20 year type retirement.
Yeah, and the takeaway is the longer you live, the more likely you'll face market dips, health issues, inflation, and you need to plan for all of that.
And oftentimes the latter years of your retirement are the most expensive because of the increased healthcare costs. So you want to make sure that you have the healthcare you deserve, but also you are leaving your surviving spouse, if you have a surviving spouse, with the retirement that they want as well.
Number 4, your emotions make lousy financial advisors.
It's so important to avoid the emotional decisions, because you got to think it's the difference between being proactive, which is when you have a plan, and being reactive to whatever is going to happen leading up to retirement and in retirement. You know, long term versus short term. We want to try to avoid those emotional decisions. Life's going to happen. The markets are going to keep happening. You might have life events that we'd prefer not to have at some point in retirement, but we've got to always come back to the plan. We make these planning decisions based on looking at that long-term view. Having a relationship with someone like us, we can remove ourselves. We can remove the emotion from people's money. It's really hard for you to remove your emotion from your money. And the markets are going to keep going up and they're going to keep going down. And we know it's easy to have that emotional reaction when we see the markets go down, thinking, I can't keep doing this. I can't lose more. I don't have time. But the reality is, we see it all the time. The majority of the largest days in the markets happen shortly after we see some of those severe down days. That's just one of the reasons why we need to try to help people remove the emotion from making those retirement decisions.
Number 3, the rules changed while you were working. What rules changed while people were working, Loren?
Almost every rule changes at some point in time, but let's just focus on the RMD rule, because we've seen significant changes recently on required minimum distributions. Just as a reminder, that the RMD means at a certain age, you are mandated to take distributions from your pre-tax 401ks and IRAs. And if you don't, you have a penalty. Now, the reason I said it at a certain age, because the age has changed. If we go all the way back to 1974, you were mandated to take distributions from those accounts at age 70 and a half. And for whatever reason you forgot or just didn't know about it, then you had a 50% penalty on the amount that you didn't take out. Now, it stayed like that for a long period of time. I don't know, legislators got bored, they fell asleep. I'm not sure what happened, but it was like that all the way up until 2019. 2019, that 70 and a half moved to 72. And then just 3 short years later, 2022, it moved to 73 for some people, 75 for other people. And instead of a 50% penalty if you didn't take it out, it went to 25%, but wait for it, it might be 10%. So the rules have changed, and the hard part is how do you keep up with those and then understand how those apply to you in your situation. We have to keep an eye on those and make sure they are also baked into your plan.
Retirement wake-up call number 2. Your neighbor Bob is not a retirement planner.
We hear that all the time. Bob said, I need to take my Social Security as soon as I possibly can at age 62 for a litany of reasons, right? Social Security is going broke. You don't know how long you're going to live. But then once we put together your plan, it turns out Bob's encouragement for you to take it at 62 might have been right for Bob based on his situation, or maybe it wasn't because Bob just thought he wasn't going to live forever and is going to go broke and he decided to do that. But what was right for you is for you to make a combination strategy where you take it at a later date, your spouse takes it at a different date than what Bob recommended, and that's how you got more money out of your Social Security. It's not uncommon that people who do their Social Security analysis and build that into their overall plan can get upwards to 6 figures more out of their Social Security over the course of their 20-year retirement time frame. So Bob might be right for him, maybe he's not right for him, but we know with certainty he's probably not right for you. Your plan is right for you based on your retirement.
Wake-up call number 1.
Number 1.
In today's show. It's not about the money, it's about the life you want. And that's why when you sit down with families, you talk to them in these retire-ready calls, a lot of time the conversation starts with, what do you want to do in retirement?
That's why lifestyle is is one of the big parts of our plan that we talk to everybody out there. Nobody out there has ever told us that they want to retire more than once. And that can mean it's okay to have a part-time job, but from that full-time career, getting into retirement, you get one shot at it. You want to get it right. So it's about the lifestyle. We know the money matters. These balances matter. They're always going to be important. But what we get to experience, and the reality is as time goes on, that means a little less. These memories, that Disney cruise that you talked about, these golden years, that's what really rises up the list and becomes more and more important. So we know it is about the lifestyle. Let's make these the golden years as much as people can. Let's maximize all these assets. Let's have as much fun as possible while feeling confident along the way that people aren't going to run out of money.
Some people watching this show and some advisors might be watching this show and they're saying, are you guys kidding me? We watched the top 10 list of wake-up calls and number 1 was a non-financial topic. What are you guys talking about? And this is the reason is number 1, because it is the most important. When you're thinking about your retirement, this is the stuff you're thinking about. You're forced to think about all those 9 other things. But what you want to think about is the lifestyle and all the things that you can do. But it's often overlooked as a part of the plan because people just think, well, that's what I want to do. Well, you can make what you want to do, what you can do by incorporating all the other 9 things into your plan. So I think many people might feel, well, that's weird, but it's the number 1. Because that's your number 1.
You guys know what I've been waiting to do, right?
What?
David Letterman throws the card. Oh, you want to throw cards? Let's throw the cards. This is Retiring Today, and we thank you, give one to the camera, for watching.
Thanks for watching. If you liked this video, click here for more great content from our team. Don't forget to subscribe to continue to receive helpful information for your retirement planning.